All right, folks, so we're going to start our next installment for significant figures. So to get started here is to find your Chem Quest number 3 and your notes over how to determine significant figures. Pause. Take 3 to 5 minutes just to refresh your memory with regard to the rules for determining significant figures. Just look back over those rules real quick. And be sure you're finished with Chem Quest up through number 6. Right? That's just practicing that process of identifying how many sig figs you have. Right? And so at this point, so to continue with this little bit, we should at least be comfortable or getting comfortable identifying when a 0 is significant or not. Right? Because really that's what this comes down to. Are your zeros significant? Are they not? Because if it's not a 0, we know it is. Okay? So pause, take that time to go back and refresh your memory if you need to. All right? Make sure you have your notes and Chem Quest 3 in front of you because that's going to be a good reference sheet for us. All right. So really what we're going to be focusing on now is when we do a calculation with sig figs, we need to know at the end of that calculation how we round. Right? So this is our rules for rounding. Right? And we're going to use those for the rest of the year. Right? So these sig fig things are never going to go away for the rest of the year. We're going to focus on how to find them, how to round our answers, and if we struggle with this, we're going to take some time to go back and get it because you're going to lose points on tests and quizzes. All right? So first things first, you run your calculation as you would normally without determining sig figs first. All right, so if you have this number times this number, you just plug that in your calculator and you let your calculator do the work, and it's going to give you a bunch of decimals that may or may not be significant. Okay, but just run your calculation normally first. Then, okay, we have to decide, are we multiplying and dividing or addition and subtraction? We have slightly different rules. All right? So we're going to start with multiplication and division, the rules for this process. All right? So like I said before, you're going to complete your calculation normally. Just plug it in your calculator and hit equals. All right? Don't change anything about the numbers yet. Okay? Now, you're going to go back to the numbers. I should say we have a little s in it. You multiply or divide. Right? It's those numbers that determine what to round your answer to. Okay, so you're going to identify the number of sig figs, and each number you multiply or divide. Right? You're going to determine which has the smallest number. Right? And you're going to round to the least number of significant figures. So let's just run an example there. So let's say, for example, I have 32.5 divided by 7. All right? So I'm going to complete my calculation normally. So I'm just going to turn my calculator on and go 32.5 divided by 7 equals. I get this ugly number, 4.642857143. That's the number my calculator spits out of me. All right? Now, in science, these numbers are always going to have units attached. So, you know, this could be grams per milliliter or something like that. Now, if I ran that calculation, I have a mass of 32.5 grams, a volume of 7 milliliters. You know, my units over here would be grams per milliliter. Now, I don't know for certain all the way down to the 17 millionth of a gram. Okay, I have no idea what a bunch of those digits actually are. I don't have that for certain. All right, so how do I know what to round to? It comes from my numbers over here. Okay, so I'm going to look at the numbers I'm dividing in this case, 32.5 and 7. 32.5 has 3 sig figs, 7 has 1. All right, so I'm going to round my answer to have the least number of sig figs. So I have to take this whole number right here and round it to just 1. So my first significant digit here is 4, right? And like I showed you in the last installment, I'm going to take the number that comes after it, okay, and use that to round. So really, the only way I can report this number to reflect my degree of certainty is to say my density is 5 grams per milliliter, because I cannot include the rest of those digits because I don't know them. This number right here is only specific to a single digit, so my answer can only be specific to a single digit. So again, complete my calculation normally, identify the sig figs in each number. I have 3 there, 2 there. Okay, determine which has the smallest number. That would be the 7 milliliters, which has just 1. And so my answer is going to have 1 sig fig. All right? So what I'd like for you to do now, I want you to complete the next 2 sections. All right? And that's up through number 8. Okay? Now, your Chem quests also have all that information in there. This is probably going to be a slightly different way of presenting what I just told you guys. So take time to read those 2 sections, all right, and complete up through number 8. So pause this video for a minute, all right. After you've done up through number 8, you can go to Edmodo and check your work on those 2 sections. Make sure you did things right. If you're feeling confident, you can go ahead and hit play again and move on to the next part, which will be addition and subtraction, all right. So addition, subtraction. So hopefully you guys aren't just watching straight through. Hopefully you paused and did number 6 through 8, or 7 and 8, excuse me, off your Chem quest. So for addition and subtraction, the information section that you just read should have said something about placeholders, right? So we have to know our placeholders. I have to know that this is my ones, this is my tens, my hundreds, my thousands, right? All right, so we got our thousands, hundreds, tens, ones, tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. Okay, so know those placeholders. Look at that section on the Chem quest. You guys should have that all figured out from previous math classes by now. All right, and then just like with your additions or multiplication division, you just do your calculation normally. So you plug your numbers in the calculator, you let it do its thing, it spits out whatever decimal places it knows. All right, then you're going to look carefully at the numbers you added or subtracted. So again, what to round to, that answer comes from the numbers you're adding or subtracting. Okay? Now, instead of looking at the least number of sig figs, you go to the least specific placeholder. Okay, and I'll show you what that means here in just a second. Right? So we're going to that least specific placeholder and round our answer. So again, let's say I have 127.453, okay, plus 6.02, all right? Now, if I look at those 2 numbers, 127.453, that has 6 sig figs, 6.02 has 3 sig figs, but it's not the number of sig figs I'm concerned with, it's which placeholder was the last placeholder I'm certain of. So if I look at this, 127.453, I'm certain all the way down to the thousandth place. With 6.82, I'm only certain down to the hundredth place, right? So I'm going to end up rounding my answer here at that hundredth place when I add, right? So I'll go to my calculator just to make sure I don't do any arithmetic errors. 127.453 plus 6.02, and I get, my answer comes out to 133.473, right? But keep it in mind, I'm going to round to that hundredth place in this case, all right? So I've looked at 3. 3 means I round down, so my actual answer will be 133.47. And that's the number you'd report to Mr. Hudeberg, right? Showing the degree of certainty in your answer rounded to the correct location. All right, so your job now is complete the rest of the ChemQuest packet. All right, rounding, so doing your calculations and rounding according to the rules you're shown for multiplication versus division and addition versus subtraction. All right, and we ought to be able to have that finished up sometime tomorrow.